You're listening to the When Life Hands You Lennon's podcast.
But in an entry-level film production, it's one strike and you're out. You're fired. I'm not calling you back.
If your goal today is to make a basket, we're going to make that basket.
The minute you create something, as soon as it's made tangible, you have a copyright in it.
How do I get our guys to sound that big, that full when they do the harmonies?
And I'm your host, Lennon Seahawk. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of When Life Hands You Lennon's. I literally just clicked stopped on this conversation and then hit record again because I'm still super buzzed from this conversation. I learned so much. This week's episode features Anthony Martini. Now, he is a former artist manager, and now he's a record label owner. He is the one that discovered Lil Dicky, he discovered Made in Tokyo, and he discovered Tyga, among other people. So he has had a wide range of jobs and experience in the industry, and he tells the story of how he developed Tyga, and it's very, very interesting because Tyga just did not have the sound, and nobody was kind of interested in him when he was getting picked up. But Anthony used kind of some guerrilla tactics and made it work, and now Tyga is probably one of the most successful rappers of all time, and he's had numerous hits. Same with Lil Dicky. Nobody took him seriously. I mean, he explained when he was going to have people collaborate with Lil Dicky, and he'd say, hey, I have this artist named Lil Dicky. Nobody would take him seriously. I'm not going to collaborate with a guy named Lil Dicky. Like, what the hell? So he tells that story and he shares some information on how you can become an artist manager if you're very interested in that. And then he talks about his business ventures with royalty exchange, which is very interesting, and how he's diversifying himself within the business side of music. So Anthony gives so many great resources. This is definitely an episode you're going to want to hang on to and bookmark and re-listen to because he gives so much great information. And before I dive into the conversation, before I let you go into the conversation with Anthony, I want to remind you to please sign up to my mailing list, which you can find in the show notes below, or you can head to my website and sign up there. I would also appreciate a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to it. And if you're listening to it on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. If you're listening to it on Audio Mac, feel free to leave a comment there as well. And I would appreciate if you would follow me on Instagram. I'm kind of posting my daily musings and trying to post more stuff on there, as well as some podcast stuff there as well. So you can follow me there. Lastly, if you or somebody you know would be a good guest for this podcast, there is a link to a guest request form in the show notes below. Please fill that out. And if you're a good fit, I will reach out. So without further ado, I'm very, 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 very excited to share this conversation with you. Please welcome my guest, Anthony Martini. Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on with me. Appreciate it. I was just reading a little bit about you. You've got quite a resume. So I'm excited to kind of dig in and hear a little bit more about what you do and how you got to where you're at and how we can continue to kind of inspire the younger generation and just help those who are in the thick of it keep going. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, just to give us kind of a grounding.
Yeah. So I got my start originally in the music business when I was about, honestly, 16, 15, 16. I was playing in bands at the time, and actually was in a band that was doing pretty serious things. Like for that age, we were actually playing shows and getting paid, and it was like little weekend gigs and stuff like
Wow.
that. So I guess that was like the start of actual professional career in music. And I was on the artist side of things basically up until I was maybe like 22, 23. Full time, full on, trying to make it as an artist in a band, and that's really how I learned the business. I was sort of the business guy in the band, the manager
Sure.
within, And that's what taught me everything I know about the business. Really, I learned from doing it. So everything from how to book shows, how to make merch, how to negotiate contracts, talk to record labels, like all these sort of things I had to teach myself. And a lot of it was trial and error. And you make mistakes, you fuck up, and you kind of learn from them. But all those years grinding it out on that side of things gave me a different perspective when I entered sort of like the business side of it fully as a manager, just a manager. And so I took a lot of those experiences and applied them to my time in management, and did a lot of I think a lot of things that we were doing in the sort of like in the dawn of this internet hip hop like age. This was like the very beginnings, like when I this is like all at the time, the only rap that was out there was like more street, like kind of like
Sure.
gangster type rap. There was other sorts of rap, but no one, this sort of like alternative-y internet, like non-street type stuff didn't really exist yet. And new groups were starting to pop up in that lane. And, at the dawn of all that, I was applying a lot of the methods and strategies that I had from being in a touring band to that. And, I remember even talking to booking agents and people at the time when I was managing this group, The Pack. I don't know if you know who they are, but Little B, the bass god.
Yep.
So thank you, bass god, whatever. He was in The Pack.
Okay.
And so they were, as far as I'm concerned, they were the godfathers of all this internet hip hop. They were, 4 kids from the Bay Area. They had a song called Vans, which was about Vans sneakers, and they were all skaters. And, this was before it was a thing. And they kind of made it cool to be like these, like just crazy ass kids from the hood that skateboarded and, just kind of like doing their own thing. And I remember trying to get them shows, and promoters didn't want to book them because it was hip hop, and booking agents didn't want to deal with them because it's hip hop and there's all these insurance issues and there's violence and this and that. And I remember trying to explain to people like, no, this is not like fucking G Unit and, 50 Cent. Like, This is a whole different thing. These are like, it's young kids, and it's more of like, almost like it had a punk rock energy to me. And, like I remember seeing all these artists at the very beginning, like, Big Sean, Wiz Khalifa, like all these guys, just before anyone knew who they were, and just trying to kind of like break through with this new scene. And so, a lot of the things that I took to, from the business side that I applied in management were from being in a band and touring and kind of learning it and applying almost like a little bit of like a rock ethos to this new hip hop. And then next thing you know, it sort of continues to evolve, and it becomes like what it is now, where everything is dominated by hip hop, even more so, just youth culture, the internet, everything is just, it's all hip hop. And, from there, I was in artist management for, I don't know, probably, 10, 12 years or so. And I managed The Pack. I managed this group Chitty Bang. I managed Tyga. And then also managed Lil Dicky and Made in Tokyo, which, that sort of started my transition into being a record label. Around the time when I found Lil Dicky, I was managing Tyga and started managing Lil Dicky at the same time. And with Dicky, he didn't want to sign to a record label necessarily. Sure. He wanted to kind of like be independent and almost use like this Macklemore model. And so, as his manager, that's what I wanted to facilitate. So I went out and, started a label, essentially got a distribution deal, put up my own money, kind of, got it started. And then as things really started taking off, I just transitioned fully into being a label head, and, was built up independent record label and started signing a bunch more artists and had a lot of success with that. And, a lot of, platinum records and songs on the charts, and, billions of streams later. Sure. I was a label owner.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So, it's sort of like, the path just naturally started evolving along the way. And, at different points in time, I would pivot and kind of shift the focus depending on what I thought was, more going to be more relevant in the future, or like have a better model.
So, I mean, you talked about the kind of explosion of like the internet hip hop. And I'm guessing you're talking about like SoundCloud rap was big back in like what, 2012, 2015 ish, somewhere around there. And the methods of discovering artists are a lot different than they are today. Like can you explain how you discovered Tyga, how you discovered Lil Dicky, and then kind of get into the different variations of how artists are discovered now than when they were 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually interesting. I've never been asked that, never really thought about it in that way, but they were all actually, each was, sort of specific to the time period that they were in. So like Tyga, I discovered Tyga through a mixtape on a CD, a physical CD where.
And what year was that?
That was probably 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, 2004. Yeah, probably around 2004.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
He had a mixtape called Young on Probation. And the crazy part is on the mixtape was all these unknown, unsigned artists that he had features with, which were Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, like all of TDE, basically. They were all on the mixtape, but they were just separate guys, all kind of like from the same area that he was in, and none of them were signed, none of them were anything. And they were all just like on this mixtape, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so I was working at a management company called Crush at the time, which Crush is, they're a pretty big company. They do.
I actually had somebody from Crush on the show about 3 months ago named William Tenney. He's like heads their like streaming and marketing.
They're a much bigger
they're huge
now than when I was there. And so like there's a bunch of new people. Like I know the founders of it.
Sure.
But like all their new staff, like they have a ton. They're like a fucking machine now.
They're huge.
But that's where I was initially working when I first officially like started becoming a manager. And they were managing a group, Gym Class Heroes, at the time.
Love Gym Class Heroes.
So Tyga happened to bump into Travie McCoy at like Flight Club in LA or something, and he gave him the CD. And so then Travie was in the office, when he was back in New York. I was like the hip hop guy in there, so he was like, "Yo, check this out. This kid gave me the CD. Like, I didn't listen to it, so I don't know, like whatever." He's like, "But he seemed cool." I listened to the CD. To be honest, like, it wasn't really good, but like. He looked cool on the, like Tyga looked cool on the cover. Like he had tattoos and he was like good looking and all that shit. And so, and I was kind of hungry just in general as like a new manager. I just wanted anything that could potentially like, I could help develop and, just give me anything and I'm going to fucking make it work. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, you know what, like, fuck it. I'm going to reach out to this kid and we're going to talk. And, when I met him, he definitely had like the star power, even though he wasn't anyone yet, like people on the street would think he's famous, you know what I mean? And so I kind of took that as like, all right, even though the music still needs some development and like the rapping and like all that, like he has some of the intangibles that I feel like you can't teach or you can't have if you don't have, like either you have it or you don't. And so decided to work with him and, the rest is sort of history from there. But like that was 2004 physical mixtape getting passed around, CD, listen to it, and like, okay, cool. Let me go meet him in person and do all this shit. Lil Dicky was sort of, that was like probably around 2013-ish.
Okay.
And I got a YouTube link. And, someone I know that was working at a music licensing company that I was a partner in, sent me a YouTube link of this kid. They're like, yo, like some dude I know from a fraternity that I was in, like he goes to school with this guy, or he went to school with this guy, and like he's a rapper and he seems pretty good. What do you think? And so, watched the YouTube video, got the link, looked at the YouTube video, and I thought it was cool. Like again, it was a lot of the stuff is really rough in the beginning. You know what I mean? So like it was a song that actually did well for him, and it was his first video that hit 1 million views on YouTube. But I didn't particularly like the song at first. I appreciated the fact that he could rap and he was smart and talented, but I just didn't think the song was great. I thought it was a great concept. And then when I sort of spoke to him and met Dicky, then that's when it all became clear of like, this guy is gonna succeed. Like he's, he knows exactly where he's going. There's a vision, like he's smart. He has, like all the other factors. And so started working with him. Made in Tokyo, that was more the SoundCloud era. That was probably 2015, 2015, 2016-ish. And that was when SoundCloud, like Post Malone was just blew up.
Yeah. It was really peaking around that time.
Yeah. So, that's when I heard Uber Everywhere, and I was like, oh, like this shit, like just from the title alone, like basically the only reason that I even had to listen to the song was to make sure it didn't suck. Because if it was anything that was fucking remotely, like the title alone, I thought was so good that the song could be a hit. But I was like, as long as the song doesn't sound like dog shit, like this shit is gonna fucking be huge. And when I listened to it, I was like, yo, the song is actually dope. It sounded different and all that stuff. But it was very much in that SoundCloud, like new internet rapper lane. And then, that's how I got his stuff is through that way. So it's funny that through each almost like different iteration of like the scene, the different methods of kind of discovering them. But then even like I Made in Tokyo. So, like I said, Tyga, initially I got the physical CD. I went, met him, sat in person, all that kind of shit. Dicky, I got the YouTube link, talked to him on the phone before I met him, and then like kind of did a deal over the phone. Made in Tokyo, SoundCloud link, and then it was like DMs. And it was like, so it was almost like totally different. It's like less human contact along the way. With each passing generation of like this kind of internet hip hop. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is really cool. So which artists are you still working with? Are you still working with any of them on a management basis?
No management. I totally stopped managing.
Got it.
Completely, just because, again, when I started focusing on the label, the business model is just better. You know what I mean? Like in terms of, like as a manager, there's no security. You kind of get fired at any time. Even if you have a contract, basically you're making the biggest percentage, but you have the, like at any time that could go away. And so, at least with the label, because there have been times throughout my career that I had been burned on the management side, because it's like, I'm not going to sue you. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, all right, like if you fuck me over, you fuck me over. But you don't want to get fucked over. So, as far as a label, at least there's some kind of IP that you're owning. You know what I mean? Like you're signing them to a contract that is an actual enforceable contract, and you're owning IP that there's a value to that you could eventually sell at a multiple. And that was my thought, process with like focusing on building a label, because as a manager, you don't own anything. You know what I mean? You're just a commission-based role player, even though you play probably the most important role in the entire team. But like, you really don't get anything out of it outside of just your money. You know what I mean? And so like money is great, but it's also like, it's almost like a shorter term, I think, vision. Like it's a business model and it's also, it's a grind too, like management, you know what I mean? Like I just had spent so many years, like touring and never being home and missing holidays and like all that shit, even from being in a band, you know what I mean? Like ever since I was fucking 18 years old up until like into my 30s, like I'd been traveling like 200 days a year, you know what I mean? Wow. So it just starts to wear you down, where I was like, all right, so the label, I could be more stationary, have more of like a normal life, but also still get to be creative and do the things I like to do and find artists. So, just at a certain time in my life, it just made more sense to do it that way. And that's why I focused on it. So, if I was fucking 20 years old still, maybe I'd love to be running around and being in the clubs and, managing and, that's fun. But right now, I'd rather go to sleep at fucking 10 o'clock. This
Yeah.
is late for me right now.
Yeah, it's getting a little late for me too. I just finished work about 40 minutes ago. So it's like I'm ready to clock out and just unwind for the day. But I've spoken with quite a few managers and they kind of have similar stories where they're just like, it just wears down on you. Like I had a blast, in my early 20s, but in fact, one of my colleagues at work, he's a manager and he's like, I did it for 10 years and now it's like I'm done with it. Like it's just so much. He's like, I get tired of the calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and having to, reroute flights with somebody in Japan. One of my artists is in Japan. It's like, I'm ready to settle down and just go to bed at 8 o'clock and then have to get up, be able to get up at 6 or 7 in the morning and just kind of enjoy myself. But yeah, it's always interesting. And, being a manager, especially for bigger artists, I can imagine the what's on your plate is astronomical compared to somebody who's smaller. So let's go back just a little bit. I want to get into the management just a little bit. What were the kind of the next steps for you and Tyga or you and Lil Dicky? Like what was kind of the next step for signing? And then like, how did you take them into stardom?
Well, as far as like, management, officially becoming manager or anything, like I never really even did a contract, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
so there was no like signing officially, any of that kind of stuff. It was more like handshake,
Yeah.
And like we understand each other. But yeah, I mean, for any artist, but I mean, like Tyga was a little different than Dicky, because like Tyga, again, this is like early internet days where like pre-social media, like the social media of the time was MySpace. So it was kind of like, it's not like now where even like when I started working with Dicky, there's YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and like all that shit that you could kind of like self-promote a little more and gain more traction. But Tyga was more like fucking a lot of attrition and smoke and mirrors to like get it to a certain point. And that was kind of like the blog era too. So a lot of the game with him was trying to get posted on the big hip hop blogs of the time, like Two Dope Boys and Nah Right and Hot New Hip Hop and like all those like the blogs that sort of they dictated the culture. That was where people went to go discover new music. And so it was trying to, it was almost like the DSPs in a way of the time where like, if you get placement on them, like now people were checking for you and, downloading your single on iTunes, like, you know what I mean? Like it was like, it was that kind of thing. So it took longer with Tyga actually, because, initially people didn't like his music, like none of the blogs liked him. So, and there wasn't really,
what was it that they didn't like about him? Was it just his music? Was it his image? Was it his kind of persona?
I think, I think musically at the time he was trying to be a little more commercial than, he is now. Like now he's commercial, but in a different way. It's kind of like almost like ratchet commercial, like where initially like he almost was modeling himself off of like Chris Brown or like, like more like mainstream commercial.
Sure.
And so it didn't really fit with some of the blog culture was very much about like the underground and
Sure.
Shit that's a little more edgy and this and that. So they kind of, and like he was flashy, Tyga's always been a flashy guy. Like
Always.
He had jewelry even when like, fucking no one else was wearing jewelry, like half of, it wasn't all real at the time. Like he couldn't afford it, but he definitely put out the image of like a famous rapper always. And the blogs I think just didn't respond to that because it wasn't that wasn't what they did and that wasn't the artists that they fucked with. So it's kind of like almost they just ignored a lot of I'd send them music or try and like tell them the story. They didn't really care. It didn't work for them. And so there was a point where you kind of just have to like honestly the like there's a point where you have to fake it in a way and figure out how to get them to pay attention. So the way that I did it was I just started telling people that he was signed to Young Money. and he wasn't. So, and that's sort of, that sort of got people paying attention because I was, emailing them saying he's Lil Wayne's artist and this and that. And, there was a loose affiliation. There was a time when he was at the VMAs, with like all these crush acts that were performing at the VMAs, and then he was there and Wayne was there at the same time. And they ended up doing like this remix, a Panic at the Disco, a Fall Out Boy remix of this ain't a scene, it's a goddamn arms race. They did like a hip hop remix with Lil Wayne, Kanye, Tyga, like all these people went through Tyga on it, and they performed it one year at the VMAs, and Tyga was there, and I got a picture of him and Lil Wayne together. And he got Wayne, like talked to Wayne there. He's like, "Yo, let me get your number." And Wayne gave him his number, and he was hit him, and Wayne wasn't responding. But I just took this picture that was posted on MTV.com and started sending that to all the blogs and was like, look, Lil Wayne's new artist, Tyga. and I started literally taking the Young Money logo off Google Images and putting it on the mixtapes and like just telling people he was signed to fucking Young Money. And that got people paying attention. And, then he started eventually, like, it was almost like, when I say attrition, we weren't going anywhere. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, you could keep ignoring us, but we're just going to keep fucking going. And I'm going to keep emailing you every fucking week and keep like whatever I have to do, hounding you. And eventually you're just going to just like, all right, let me just post it fucking one time to shut this guy up. Like it was almost like that kind of effect. But then, Tyga, I mean, he started to grow into, his artistry, and, eventually Wayne did respond to him and ended up being like, hey, let's connect, on a tour. They went, he met him out on tour, and they ended up just, Tyga was always smart and knew how to work relationships and like network and stuff like that. And so when Wayne invited him out to a show on that, forget which tour it was. It might have been the Carter 2 tour. It was like when Wayne was putting out all those mixtapes, the dedication mixtapes, and it was whatever tour happened right after that. And Tyga basically just stayed on tour. Like he went out for a couple shows, but then it was like, all right, like I'm living on the fucking bus, sleeping on the couch for the next 3 months, and then ended up developing a real relationship with Wayne, where it was like, all right, we're cool now. Now they really were on songs together. Now they were like, now it was becoming real. And, people again started paying more attention, and then it actually became to the point where Young Money offered a deal, and Tyga signed Young Money, and then Bedrock, and it started everything kind of going. But that was really just like a grind. That was like a young manager just hustling, trying to get anyone to pay attention to his fucking artist and not taking no for an answer and just doing whatever the hell it takes to like break through. Whether it's lie, cheat, steal, whatever it is. And that's how he did it. But, with real strategy along the way and real foundation, because honestly, like you look at any rappers that came out during that time, like none of them are around still, like none of them that are Tyga's age. You know what I mean? And Tyga is still now even more relevant than ever. And he's had such a long career. Like he's been in the business so long, but he's still pretty young. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he may have just turned 30, you know what I mean? So, wow. He's managed to have some longevity. And I think a lot of that had to do with the way that we approached it, almost with like this rock mentality of like touring, building a real fan base, kind of catering to the fan base. Like, even though he was signed to Young Money, like that situation just became sort of a dead end, like it was for a lot of Young Money artists that you never heard anything about after. But the thing that was different about Tyga was, regardless of whether he was signed to a label or not, he still always catered to the fans. So we would put out mixtapes, constantly. He was always in the studio, and he learned that from Wayne, honestly, like from being on tour, seeing how Lil Wayne operated, how he's always fucking recording. He's always working on, and he sort of learned, got mentored in that capacity, like kind of watching one of the greats do it. And he took on that same kind of work ethic, so that even though, again, you could be signed to a label and caught up in all like the politics that happen at a label, and they're not putting your album out, or they're shelving you, or this, they're not doing anything. Oh, fuck the label. But, you still have control enough to be able to make music, put it out yourself, and whether it does well or not, you continue to cultivate your fan base and just like stay relevant, stay kind of in the periphery. And that's what Tyga did that for a long time. And then even me just trying to find any opportunities that made sense to kind of keep him in the public eye and keep him making money. And you sort of just bide your time until something hits. And then eventually, like, you had Rack City and sort of like that faded and like those big hits. But then there was a dry period where there was like no hits for a long time. And it was just mixtapes putting out and just churning and grinding. And it was like a numbers game. It was like almost like quantity over quality. Mm-hmm. And then eventually he gets Taste, which is now like a big hit again. And then from there, he's just not let off the gas and just kept rolling them out. So, sometimes you just got to stay in the game. And so, like I said, with Tyga, it was more of a grind to kind of to make it happen. With Dicky, Dicky definitely had the advantages of, like I mentioned, more social media platforms that you could kind of directly interact with your fans and get some traction going. And Dicky was also really smart on how to do that. Like he came from an ad agency, and so like he understood, sort of like how to get people to respond certain ways and certain things that like I guess just things that he learned from the advertising agency that he applied to some of the approach in the music, even just like conceptually in lyrics, and things like that. With Dicky, the big obstacles in the beginning were, the fact that his name is Lil Dicky, that was like a huge obstacle. Like people just laughed at me if I fucking told them like I had this artist Lil Dicky. Second of all, he was white. He's like this white, nerdy Jewish kid that's like not really young. He was like older and then people were just like, what the fuck? And he's like a comedian. Like people were like, what is this? I don't even understand. Like what
I was one of those people.
Yeah. And so, I remember like, again, trying to like beg and fucking plead with people to give him like a shot or like let him open up on this or people that I knew that book festivals or whatever. I'm just like, I'm telling you. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. And like I still have emails that people kind of were like shitting on him, but these are like the same people that now are like, oh, can we get a feature from Dicky? Or like, it's like, what the fuck? But that's just how it is. So like with Dicky, it was a little different because I thought he was so unique and had such a unique perspective that it was just about positioning him in the right way. And then people would eventually see that he's talented. And that's why, like, I think he did that sway freestyle at Sway in the Morning. And that was like a big moment because that's such like a hip hop, almost like rite of passage, like Sway, you go on Sway in the Morning. And I think a lot of people, a lot of big artists will go on there and they kind of like mail it in and there's like a shitty freestyle and everyone fucking says, oh, this is why I knew artists suck now. No one can rap, blah, blah, blah. And Dicky really took it like to heart where he was like, I want to go on there and show people that like, I'm fucking a competitor. Mm-hmm. And so he took that shit and it was like basic training. Like he was like, getting ready for the moment and then went on there and killed the freestyle and it kind of went viral. Like that was like, the YouTube videos, I think is, got a few million views and everyone was talking about that. And people sort of started to see like, oh shit, like he could rap, and that was always sort of the way to do is like, keep your unique, point of view that makes you and don't ever like compromise that, but also let's show everyone that you can rap just as well as anyone else and you can compete at that level and you just choose to do it your own way. And that was the biggest challenge of like the nuance of that. Because also around that time, the bro rap movement was like pretty big and it was very hard to kind of keep Dicky out of that wave because I felt like that was almost like the death knell. If you got associated with like the bro, like if once you got associated with that, like that's just, you had to fully go in that direction because that's all you were going to ever be able to do is like go play some colleges and frats and fucking just lean into that because no one else is going to respect you. And so we tried to really position it in a way where he wasn't that, but he was like funny but it wasn't Lonely Island. It wasn't parody. It was like this little weird kind of like nuanced thing that he was doing. And, eventually people started to see. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the rise of like all these different social media platforms that Dicky could kind of really show what he can do and visually express himself. The videos were always really interesting, and that was a big part of what he did. But then, he knew how to use Reddit to his advantage, which up until that point, like I never really heard of an artist using Reddit, you know what I mean? And I was kind of like, what do you like? But he knew how to kind of work it so that his like Reddit posts would get upvoted and start trending on Reddit, and it would create some virality. And so, that was something he learned from the ad agency, which I thought was super smart.
Genius.
Yeah, it really, I mean, that was part of the thing with Dicky. Like he definitely contributed as far as, strategy and like kind of like knowing how to get traction going. But it was still hard in the beginning to kind of get to that tipping point because, like I said, there was so many sort of things seemingly working against him on paper until we really started to prove that he was a real rapper. And a lot of that was associations with the right features, the right producers. We ended up having a top 10 single on urban radio, which no one thought was going to be possible. You know what I mean? Like Little Dicky, a song about saving money and being like frugal is a top 10 record on urban radio. And like, no one thought that would be possible. And, we did it, and it ended up becoming like, multi-platinum single for him. And it kind of set the tone for all the rest of the stuff to come. And, that's sort of the Dicky side of it.
Yeah. And then just recently he released his Hulu documentary thing. I mean, that just goes to show his comedic side, but talent as well. And like, I haven't seen it yet, but it's definitely on my to-do list. And I have a lot of friends that have watched it, and they're always saying it's hilarious. He's such a funny guy. He's so talented. He's just got this like awkward humor, but it's, it's going into those details that you had said, his, experience at the ad agency really translated into his music career and really helped him kind of propel him, which is genius. Like using Reddit to his advantage is incredible.
And he's really like, the thing is, he's always had a very clear vision of where he wanted to go, but he also always worked very hard. Yep. So, that's like the common denominator between like Tyga and Dicky. Like both of them work very hard at what they do. And that's why they're successful. And even though they're in totally different like lanes,
yep.
And that goes for anyone that I've seen in the business that's successful on the artist side. Like they all put in the work. Shit just doesn't happen by chance. Like you may, catch a viral little hit or whatever, but you're not going to get longevity or a real career unless you're ready to put in the work. And yeah, like Dicky, I mean, that show, he had the concept for that show when I first met him.
Wow.
like even the song Freaky Friday that he had with Chris Brown,
mm-hmm.
when like before the first album even came out, he was like, I have this concept for a song called Freaky Friday, and like Chris Brown would be perfect for it. And like I was trying to get Chris Brown to do this with him early on, but like I got laughed out of the room. Like no one would give a fuck about a guy named Little Dicky until he started having all this success. And then people were like, oh, yeah. And then it made sense. Like we approached Chris Brown, he was down to do it. But, that song came out in 2019 or something, 2020, 2019, probably Freaky Friday. But Dicky had the concept for it in 2014, and just the moment, the timing wasn't there yet where we couldn't get to, like we could get to Chris Brown, but Chris Brown wasn't going to be receptive. Where you wait until the time is right. And now the whole vision, all right, this is what I envisioned years ago. And now here it is. And Chris Brown's ready to do it. And it becomes, it's a fucking billion streams, huge, insane song.
So going back just a little bit, you talked about like Tyga, when you first discovered him, his sound wasn't quite there. And I would assume Lil Dicky's was kind of like that as well. So Tyga learned a lot from being mentored by Lil Wayne and a lot of, being in the studio all the time. Is that primarily where he learned to develop his sound, or how did you get him to really up the ante on his professionalism in sound?
I think, definitely the Lil Wayne time period helped, but I think it's also repetition. You know what I mean? Like
Got it.
he was always making music and recording and working in the studio that, you're gonna get better at your craft. It's like if you're a fucking basketball player that, isn't that good at shooting 3-pointers, but you practice every fucking day and you shoot 1,000 3, like eventually you're gonna become good at it.
Yep.
And I think that's, it helps if Steph Curry is going to teach you 3-pointers too. That's great, but you still got to practice it. And so I think just the fact that Tyga like recorded so much material, like, hundreds and hundreds of songs, like most artists, like there's a lot of artists that I know that, it's hard to pull enough songs to even just make an album for, like in a year, like some of them are just, they don't have that hunger, where Tyga is just like, he could probably record an album a week if he wanted. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of kind of like sorting through, the best songs of that and kind of weeding through, filler and all that. But I think within that repetition, like you'll find some of the gems and you'll have some of these moments where it's like, oh shit, this song is fucking dope. You know what I mean? And you just got to do it and not be afraid to kind of make mistakes or have shit not be that good, or, just kind of get it out there and let the world decide.
That's good advice. So transitioning into for somebody that wants to be a manager, how would they go about kind of getting started? Like what advice would you give to somebody who wants to be an artist manager?
Well, management is a great place to start because it's I think the lowest barrier to entry. That's why I started as a manager, because it was like, I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a connection at a record label to get me in to start working at a label. It was sort of like management is almost like you could do it yourself. Really, like you could just start a management company today by yourself. You don't need someone to help you. As long as you have, I think you need the right skills to be a manager. You need to, you need to understand strategy. Well, you need to understand what the fuck you're doing anyway. So you need to learn about the music business a little bit. And so it's like, you can't just out of nowhere say, I want to be a manager. Definitely study, there's books out there that you could read. I mean, that's even how I kind of learned outside of doing it for my band and kind of self-managing. I read Donald Passman's book, everything you need to know about the music business. Fucking music law books, like any kind of music books that I could learn about contracts or royalties or publishing or any of that kind of stuff that I knew I needed to know. I taught myself. And so, I think that's sort of a first step. If you're thinking about getting into management, but you have no real experience on that side of things, like you should definitely educate yourself as much as possible first. But there's certain intangible skills that I think, you could have without having knowledge of the business. If you're, if you're a deal maker, a hustler, like, how to, create opportunities. Cause that's the thing about managers, as a manager, you're not getting paid a salary. You know what I mean? Like you're basically, and your artist is not getting paid a salary. So it's kind of like, it's on you to wake up every day and create something out of nothing and enable that to feed everybody. You know what I mean? And so like, if you don't have that mentality that you're, like in the fucking jungle and you're going to go hunt and bring home the fucking kill, then it's going to be tough for you. But if you have that mentality and some of these other qualities, like, and you feel like you'd be good in artist management, you could spot talent early or, things like that, then I would say start by getting some books and educating yourself on the basics of the music business. And then, you got to find an artist. And when you're looking for an artist, it's not always going to be perfect. And often like in the beginning, it is going to be rough around the edges, but what has always served me well is looking for those qualities that you can't teach or improve on. You know what I mean? Like you could get better at rapping. You could get better at like making beats. You could, like through practice and repetition, like there's certain things that, like you can get better at, but like having star power or having like presence in a room, having charisma, like those sort of things you can't, like, you're not going to teach somebody. If they're a certain way, they're not going to change if they're a certain way when they're not famous, they're not going to change if they got famous, and a lot of times those things will hold them back from ever becoming famous or successful. Because, you know, you could have great music and not have the charisma or star power that you need to become like a star, and your songs could do pretty well, you know. So it just depends on like what your goals are, and like what your goals are for the artist. Like, you know, are you trying to, you know, help make the next biggest artist in the world, next biggest rapper, next bigger whatever, or are you just cool with having like someone that's, you know, mid-range successful, and that's, you know, that's what it is. But I think like the true types of artists that cross over are the ones that have the intangible qualities, and it's sort of, you know, those are things that you'll feel. It's more like it's a feel thing. It's not necessarily, you know, you got to meet them face to face. You got to talk to them, kind of see what their vision is. You could get a sense for people's work ethic, you know, all that stuff just on a conversation. And then if that combines with the music being good, then all right, you have something. You know what I mean? The key is, especially if you're a new artist, a new manager starting out, and you're going to work with like an unknown artist, and you're both sort of coming up at the same time, you have to have someone that's going to definitely work as hard as you. You know what I mean? Like you can't drag someone to success if they're not going to put in their part. So, you know, you got to match on that level. And again, you find someone, you know, maybe you see them on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you send them a DM, you just have a conversation, feel them out, maybe get on the phone, try and meet face to face, and then, you know, get a sense for some of these things in the room, have some questions that you want answered, and have them prepared, and kind of like get a vibe. Also, personally, you have to vibe, because if, you know, even if they have some of these qualities, but you guys don't mesh personality wise, it's probably not going to work either. So there's a lot of things that you'll get a sense of through talking to someone, having a conversation, and you'll see where their head's at. And then if, you know, all those things work out, offer to manage them. You know, because the thing about management, and again too, like, you know, even going back to some of the way that I operated with deals, you don't expect anyone to sign a contract right away. You know, like, great if you can, great, but like if you're just trying to get in the game, like, you got to take what you can get too. So I would just say, like, offer even to do a trial period, and say like, look, let me manage you for 6 months, and let me see what, you know, like, I think I could get something going for you. Let's try this out for 6 months. The artist doesn't have to pay anything or do anything. You know what I mean? And most likely in the beginning of a career, like, no one's making money anyway. Like, you're not going to really make money for them in the beginning. It's about opportunities. So if you could create opportunities in those, you know, 3-6 months, then I think you'll build, you know, it allows the artist to build some trust with you. It allows you to kind of understand how the working relationship will be. And then, you know, if it's going well, that was always my philosophy. If things are going well, you don't even need a contract, because people are going to want to continue to work with you, because you're providing value.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I like the fact that, you know, when you mentioned, you know, obviously providing value, offering to do it for free. If you're not going to provide value, then why would this person keep working with you? You know, that's a great point. And then not only that, having to vibe with somebody, being able to connect with them. If you're always kind of like butting heads, then it doesn't really make sense, because you're not going to get anywhere on deals and, you know, trying to move forward in a career.
Well, also too, like, management relationship is such a, like, it's like a high touch relationship. You know what I mean? Like, you're constantly talking to this person multiple times a day, always dealing with it. You're traveling with them. You do it. So like, if you don't like each other, it's going to be fucking miserable. You know what I mean? And everyone's going to be looking for the first way out as soon as they can. So that's just not, you know, that's just not a way to operate. You know, find someone you vibe with, and, you know, just get it started. And, you know, like I said, the key is, I think a lot of people, artists and managers, a lot of people that are new, or not even new in the business, a lot of people that I see making mistakes in the business get so caught up on the little things, and like, you know, fucking this term or that term, or this, I want this in the contract. Like, none of that shit fucking matters until it matters. You know what I mean? Until someone's actually making money and something's actually happening. So, you know, a lot of people will almost like talk themselves out of deals before it even happens, or not even allow it to happen, because they're so caught up on like, if this happens, I need all these things, you know, like, it never is going to work out perfectly. Your job on the business side of it is to try and, make it, honestly, the deal should not be perfect for either side. You know what I mean? Like everyone should find a way to make a compromise, but everyone should be able to live with it and be happy with it. But there's always going to be concessions. And, the biggest like hangups that I always encounter are like when you deal with someone who just refuses to like concede on anything. It's just kind of like, this is not a zero sum game. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're all just trying to find a middle ground and like, let's just find that. And so like, that's how I always approach deals is like, let's be flexible, be ready to adjust and, think of the end goal of like, what is the ultimate result of this that I want, and worry about the details sort of after the fact, but like get it to the point where the top line shit is there. And then the little things will work themselves out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too, because and being able to be flexible as a manager is going to be huge, because you're going to get those calls at 2 o'clock in the morning and have to, rebook a flight or whatever. Yeah. And, you're going to be negotiating a lot of stuff. You're going to be negotiating with other managers on, collaborating with their artists, the splits. You're going to be negotiating touring contracts. You're going to be negotiating with the promoters, record labels, publishers, all that stuff. So being able to find a middle ground in that is very important, and being flexible and open to what the opportunities are. Because, if you're connecting with a publisher, they're obviously going to want what's best for them. You're going to want what's best for your artist. So there's obviously, you guys want to work together. There's definitely business there, but you just got to be flexible and find that middle ground. Yeah. And that's super, super important. So that's a really good point. Kind of the last point I want to touch on here is how you're transitioning. You're out of management now, probably, thankfully. And then what are you doing now on the business side? You're with Royalty Exchange. Tell us a little bit about that venture and kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm technically out of management, but you never really are. Like right. I don't have any current.
You get dragged in somehow.
But like if something really made sense and like I loved the artist and like I never say never. And sure. I think that's also something to know in the business, like as an aspiring anyone and any position in the business, never say never, and like always be open to possibilities. And that's always what it is. But so no longer, currently not managing. The label, sort of has, wound down. I sold it to another music company last year. And so, where I saw the business going, I like to try and stay ahead of the curve. And, what I started to see being an independent label was, the major labels are seeing the independents infringe on their territory. And like, I'm sure like most people have seen or heard about the reports where like independent music sector is growing. It's like a $2 billion business now, and it's starting to creep more and more into the majors territory. And so they don't want that. And, they still have more money than everybody. So that's become a way to sort of like stamp out any potential, people that are going to come take their business away from them. And so as an independent label, it became harder to sign some of these artists at the advance amounts that I was able to afford. You know what I mean? Like when I first was starting the label, I mean, I could find something that was doing, blowing up on SoundCloud or YouTube and sign an artist for, $20,000, $30,000 advance. Put a lot more money spent in the marketing and all that, promotion. Like you'd spend upward of a fucking $1 million on something, but it's going into the marketing and into that. It became so much about the advances now because of the way the major labels have done it. Like anyone that has a fucking song on Spotify that has 1 million streams is getting $1 million offers from major labels. And that has sort of changed the dynamic where now these independent, like these artists that are unsigned, they don't want to sign a deal unless you have $1 million or $2 million to give them, or they don't want to, we'll do a deal, but we want to do a one-off and it's a license and all that kind of stuff, which I respect. Like I get that, like it's great, but from a label perspective, it doesn't make sense for me to do like a one-off with somebody and invest all the money and resources that I would have to do to break it. Because really what you're trying to do is you're hoping that the next album makes some of the money back that you spent on the first batch of songs or album or however you want to structure it. But it takes a while to actually make money on the label side. And especially with a brand new artist, you're spending a ton of money. And so as an independent label, you don't have that much money to spend. So like, it's more precious to you to be able to be like, I'm spending all this money. I really need to make it back. Major label, they don't fucking care. Like it's a drop in the bucket to them. So they'll come in and, give $1 million advance and sign whatever is fucking hot today on Chartmetric or whatever the fuck, data that they're getting for numbers that are going crazy. And they just gobble them all up. They hold them essentially. Whoever pops off on their own, they'll focus on them, and the rest of them, they kind of hold for a year and then they drop them, and then they're back in the market and kind of realize, I should have never signed a major label deal. Yeah. But in the meantime, like, it makes it harder for me as an independent label to sign these artists, unless I'm signing them so early that, I'm getting them before majors are even thinking about them. And then it takes a way longer development period. And, it's sort of like, it just changed the ability to be able to like effectively sign and break artists the same way. You know what I mean? Like it became a lot more expensive. And then also, you look, even with the DSPs, I mean, all the big playlists are sort of, like they're dominated by the major labels. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very hard to get through. It's essentially become like radio, where if you're not in one of these big systems, it's hard to get Rap Caviar or like, some of the playlists that are going to actually be game changing for you, where initially, like, we were getting those because the music was doing well and kind of like building its own story. But now, there's a lot more competition and it's just like a bigger money game. And so just seeing where all that was going and seeing the fact that like artists want to be more DIY, there's more emphasis on ownership from their side. I saw something like Royalty Exchange where, in my mind, the biggest reason why most artists sign with like major labels or any label really is money. Again, you get an advance. It could be a life-changing advance that, like for someone that's 20 years old and never really made money in your life, and now you got $1 million, like that's life-changing. So I understand that. But then also outside of just like the money that goes in your pocket, the staff, the machine, all that, like you could technically hire all those people yourself if you had the money to do it. So, like you're going into the system kind of knowing that you're signing a bad deal in exchange for money, where, the most important factor to your success is control. And when you sign to a major label, you have no control. Like it's totally out of your hands. You're beholden to them, and you're either going to get chewed up and spit out by the system, or it's going to work and you're going to be a superstar. But the odds of that are like less than fucking 1%.
Yeah.
So to me, like, it was always more important to have control, but I understand you need money. And so like Royalty Exchange, what I saw with their platform is they enable artists and songwriters and producers and creatives to get the funding that they're looking for, without giving up any ownership of any IP or having to sign any deal or anything. Like essentially all it is investors that are in the system looking to diversify their investments. And so like these are different individuals or funds, people that have money in like the stock market and all different areas, but they're looking at alternative asset classes of ways that they could invest money and just get a yield year after year for the next 10 years or whatever the fuck it is. And so, royalties have become a really safe investment because of streaming. Like you can now analyze someone's statements and predict basically, all right, this is what you're probably going to make over the next 10 years. And so now it's pretty accurate. Whereas before with physical sales, like you couldn't really do that. The master side didn't make sense. The publishing side has always been a pretty good model. And that's why you've always seen catalog deals. But now, with streaming, it's become a lot easier to predict that on all levels, not just with like big iconic acts. And so, what Royalty Exchange does is they find investors who are looking to tap into your royalties. And you as an artist, if you're looking for funding, you basically submit your statements of, whatever, your ASCAP, BMI, I mean, now we're even kind of shifting into doing some deals on like masters and like funding actual like recording side of things. And it's all the same process where, you know, look at your statements, however far back we could go. You know, usually if we could get a couple of years, it's good because then we could get an accurate picture. But even if it's only a few months, we could kind of work it out, you know, figure out some kind of formula from there, and then say like, all right, based on your statements, we could get you X amount of dollars. And, you know, if you want to do the deal, you do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it. But either way, you don't give up ownership of your IP, and you're getting the funding you need, and investors parking their money into your royalties essentially. And so, you know, there's different ways to work it, but like you could have part of the royalties still come to you as, you know, each statement, and some go to them. And, you know, over the next whatever term it is, we usually the deals that we do are either 10 years or 30-year deals. And, you know, there's maybe some cases in between, but those are the standard ones. And so for the next 10 years, someone who gave you a few $100,000 is going to now collect part of your royalties, but you didn't have to go sign a bad deal. You took that money, reinvested it in yourself, built your own team, and now, you know, you're making even more money. And so that's sort of the hope, is like we can empower artists and songwriters to you know, control their own destiny really, and not be beholden to these deals that are really structured for you to never win. You know, like the way the math and the financials are structured in any record deal or publishing deal is meant to keep you stuck in a deal. And like, sure, they'll continue to give you advances, but it's those advances usually come with like, all right, well, extended another 3 albums, you know, that's why you look at when Kanye was putting out all his fucking record deal shit when he was tweeting, it's like, this guy was on like his fucking 12th album, and like, you know, they kept extending him. And yeah, they were giving him another advance. All right, here's a couple $1 million. Now sign for 3 more albums. He would have made that couple $1 million anyway. Like, you know what I mean? He could have been out of his deal and could have gotten, you know, like there were so many different ways he could have worked it, but they kind of just keep you stuck in the deal. And we wanted to break that cycle. I saw, you know, I've always been an advocate for just independence of artists and empowering artists. Even, you know, as a manager, that's what I fought for. As a label, that's sort of how I approached like these deals with my artists, was more of like joint venture type, you know, type splits, and everything very fair and transparent. And so, you know, the next phase of that seemed to make sense, where, you know, here's a company that these artists don't have to sign any deal. You know, it's like, and they're still getting the funding they need. And now they could take that funding and do what they want with it. You know, most of them will want to reinvest in their career. Some maybe just want to go buy a fucking house or do something. You know what I mean? Like, sure. The point is, it's your IP. A lot of people don't treat like creative work as real work. You know what I mean? And so, you know, any artist knows, you know, songwriter or anything, is like, if you go to a bank and try and get a loan to fucking buy a car or buy a house, they're gonna be like, all right, where's your W-2s or whatever? And it's like, oh, well, you know, I write these songs and I get like royalties every fucking, and people are gonna, like, the banks laugh you out. They're like, no, like, you can't do shit. Yep. So, you know, this is a way to say like, no, your creative IP is valuable, and you should be able to leverage that to enrich your life and do whatever the fuck you need to do with it. You know, like I said, whether you want to buy a house, you want to get into investment, you want to reinvest in your career, like whatever you want to do, that's up to you. But, you know, we want to create more options for artists to be empowered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And I like how when you were talking, the success rate for major label artists or major labels and those deals is very low. It's like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
And because they'll sign and they'll gobble everything up so nobody else can have them. And then if they do release something, you know, they'll own the intellectual property, but they don't give a damn, because then they'll have a Katy Perry come through, or they'll have a Dua Lipa come through, and it'll pay for all those thousands of artists that they just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on.
And not even just those artists that are new that break, you know, the one out of every whatever 600 that is new, like they have huge, deep catalogs that go back fucking decades, that now also, because of streaming, you know, it's like the fucking Led Zeppelin catalog is paying for fucking, you know, Atlantic to go sign the new hot SoundCloud rapper. You know what I mean? Like, they could, they could go spend $1 million because they're making that every fucking day off the Rolling Stones. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's just printing money at this point. And so they're spending it to try and gobble up the new shit in hopes that that becomes like the next revenue generator and all that. But like right now they could do it because, you know, all the catalog that they have is paying for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just endless streams of money. And when you've got, you know, millions and millions of dollars out and that you're making millions of dollars, well, when you own literally the intellectual property of majority of some of the biggest artists to ever walk the planet, there's nothing you have to worry about. You can write blank checks and not have to worry about it and not have to blink about it. But yeah, you gave that was great information on, you know, signing the major label deals. So kind of the final question here is, for a royalty exchange, can anybody throw money into it? Like, let's say I wanted to throw $1,000 at it. What would be the return for that? Or is it more so for people who have deep pockets?
No, we want to make it democratized on both sides, where like there is no minimum really. That like, you know, we have deals that range from, you know, a couple $1,000 to a couple $1 million. You know what I mean? Sure. It depends on what your appetite is, but you know, basically like you would sign up, they open an account, we would open an account for you that you could bid on things. Like we have two ways to do it. There's an auction style where certain song listings or catalog listings will go up on an auction and people bid on them, the highest bidder wins. Or there's like a direct listing where an artist comes in and sets the price that they want, and if you buy it for that price, you get it. You could offer lower. They could decide to maybe take that, but that's on them. But if you offer the price that they're asking, you would get it. And so, you know, like I said, we have, you know, we've had songs or portions of songs from like Biggie and Tupac that have sold for, you know, like I saw one, like a bunch of Tupac songs that sold for like $8,000 or something like that. Where, you know, like that's a pretty good amount of money, but to have these iconic, you know, royalties coming to you, you know, that like Tupac shit is going to keep making money for the, you know, for forever really. So it's like, that's a really safe investment where, you know, and we also arm the potential investors with the information of like, here's what it's generated over the last 3 years. Here's what we think it's going to do over the next 10 years. So like you kind of could gauge like, all right, if I spend this money now, I'm going to make X amount back. And, you know, we try and educate both sides where, you know, if you're the investor, here's all like the analysis and the benchmarks that we're looking at and what we would expect you to get in return as a return. And you could be, you know, kind of like use that information to choose what you want. But even on the seller side, when people come and say they want to do a deal for their catalog, you know, we do an analysis, create a valuation for them and tell them like, here's your top earning songs. Here's what they've done over the last few years. Here's where it's coming from. Here's why, you know, we think an investor would pay this much and kind of just walk them through it as well. So they understand like, how did you get to that number? You know, and we just want everyone to be armed with the information and have it be super transparent. So.
Sure. Yeah. And you have to be with investments. Same with the stock market. You got to have that information. Like what's it done in the last 3 months, 5 months, 10 months, a year, 5 years? Like what has it done? What's it going to do? Predictions, like all that stuff. You got to have that. I'm not going to throw $5,000 at something that I know is going to lose money. And if you can predict that, then what sense would it make? But if you're going to quadruple my money, then yeah, I'd like to have turned 5,000 into 20,000 in 5 years. That sounds like a great deal to me.
Well, that's what we try to at least build in, like a double-digit return for the investors every year. You know, like, and that's sort of how we'll present that in the analysis of like this investment we think is going to do X amount, and we want you to at least make 10% of, you know, profit each year for the whatever amount of years that you have. So it's, you know, it's basically beating the stock market. Like, you know, if you just put your money in pretty safe S&P 500 type funds and just parked it, and you expect like a 9% yield or something every year, like this, we aim to beat that and just keep it in a safe investment where, you know, like I said, music royalties are safe because music is not going anywhere. And no matter what happens in like with the economy or what's going on, you know, anywhere in the world, people are going to continue to stream music. So while the stock market may crash and your Tesla stock might fucking lose, or your GameStop stock might fucking lose a shit ton of money, fucking Tupac's royalties aren't going to crash. It's just, you know what I mean? So it's actually a pretty safe investment if you compare, you're thinking about investing in the stock market versus royalties. Like royalties are sort of where it's at right now. And we see a lot of investors just coming to our space because of that, because it's a safe way to just like know that you're not going to fucking lose all your money.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good information. Well, I really appreciate this conversation. I've learned a lot, and you shared a lot of really good information, a lot of great stories. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening, and I'm sure your busy schedule, to chat with me and share all this information. It's been super helpful, super helpful. So how can the listeners keep up with you and everything that you're working on?
I would say go follow, you can follow me on Instagram, Real Ant Money, just spelled out, Real ANTMONEY. And then also follow Royalty Exchange on Instagram. It's just royalty_exchange. And what I'm trying to do on the Royalty Exchange socials is like offer advice and kind of put out little blurbs of the tips and tricks for the industry, or like to do, don't do, things to look for, like different ways to try and arm artists and independent managers or aspiring people in the business with information that could be helpful for them. And so I would say definitely go follow that, because, we talk about things like publishing deals and record deals and how to find managers and, all that kind of stuff. So
Sure. Well, cool. I'll put those links in the show notes below as well, so everybody can check them out pretty easily. So thanks again, Anthony. This was so enlightening and so inspiring. I learned a lot, and thanks again for sharing your stories and all the stuff that you had to share.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. And talk soon.
Yeah, talk soon. Take care.